Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling smaller, not because someone insulted you, but because you said yes when you wanted to say no? You smiled when you wanted to speak. You agreed just to avoid the silence that follows disagreement. Many live like this, without realizing it, quietly trading pieces of themselves for approval they hope will bring peace. But what if that peace is a trap? According to Stoic philosophy, to live in harmony is not to live in fear of disapproval. And Machiavelli knew that those who seek to please all eventually lose the respect of all. In a world that rewards clarity, not compliance, people-pleasing is not kindness. It is self-erasure. This is not about becoming harsh. It is about becoming whole. In this video, we will explore what happens when you stop performing for affection and begin to act from strength. Why the quiet refusal to please can command more power than 1,000 agreeable smiles. So, if you've ever felt overlooked, if you've ever wondered why your goodness goes unnoticed, stay with us. The answer may be the most liberating truth you've yet to hear. 1. People-pleasing signals weakness, not virtue. You call it kindness, generosity, empathy. You soften your voice, agree when you want to object, stay silent when your soul wants to speak. You tell yourself it's noble, that people will respect you for it. But Machiavelli would shake his head, because the moment you start shaping yourself to earn someone's favor, you've already forfeited your power. You kneel, and the man who kneels too often forgets how to stand. People-pleasing is not virtue. It is self-betrayal disguised as compassion. When you adjust your behavior to avoid disapproval, you're not being good, you're being afraid. You teach people that their discomfort outweighs your truth, that their judgment is the throne from which your worth is decided. Machiavelli understood this well. He didn't see people as cruel, he saw them as predictable. If you make yourself easy to read, easy to influence, they will do just that. Not out of malice, but out of instinct. A Stoic doesn't bend to this instinct. He builds an inner fortress, and that fortress begins with this realization. No one respects the man who is always available, always agreeable, always apologizing. Politeness has its place, but when it becomes performance, it loses its soul. You say yes while your energy is being drained. You smile while your boundaries are being broken. You apologize when you've done nothing wrong. That's not grace. That's fear in disguise. Machiavelli warned us, the ruler pulls the strings. He does not wear them. Every time you mold yourself for approval, you signal to others, shape me, I am yours. But the ones who truly command respect, those who walk like still water and speak like iron, do not seek to be understood. They seek to be clear. They don't beg for trust. They embody it, and when they give, it is from choice, not compulsion. You believe that being liked will bring safety, but the opposite is true. When you train people to expect your compliance, they stop valuing your presence. They speak over you, they laugh, and you laugh along, not because it's funny, but because silence would feel too loud. And still, they don't respect you, not openly, not directly. But deep down, they do not see you as someone to reckon with. So you must ask yourself, is this kindness, or is it fear? Is this virtue, or is it survival? The Stoics believed that your first duty is to yourself, to your character. Machiavelli added rule through clarity, not approval. Be just, but be firm. Give only when it does not cost your self-respect, because those who fear rejection the most are the ones who are discarded the fastest. So stop trying to be liked. Start becoming someone they cannot ignore. 2. Needing approval destroys command. Desperation speaks before you open your mouth. It doesn't shout, but it hums underneath your tone, your posture, your smile. People may not name it, but they feel it. When you seek to be accepted at any cost, what they see is not virtue. It's vacancy. A hollow man clinging to the approval of others as if it were oxygen. And what is hollow is never respected. It is tolerated, and then, quietly, discarded. The Stoics taught that peace comes when we are ruled by reason, not reaction. Machiavelli taught that power comes when others adjust to your presence, not when you adjust to their mood. Combine the two, and the truth becomes sharp. The man who seeks to be liked loses both his self-command and his influence. Because desperation is not invisible, it leaks through every gesture. And once the world senses you need something too badly, it no longer offers it. It exploits it. You smile too quickly. You agree too often. You soften your voice when you should speak with weight, all in the name of harmony. But it is not harmony you create. It is hierarchy, and you are placing yourself at the bottom of it. The agreeable are not admired. They are used. Because if your yes is automatic, it has no value. And the man who cannot say no becomes invisible, not because he is small, but because he has chosen to make himself small. Behind closed doors, you know this. You feel the bitterness. You replay conversations wondering why your words didn't land. You feel overlooked. But it is not because others are cruel, it is because they are responding to the signals you send. Signals that say, I will shape myself for you, just don't reject me. And once you broadcast that, respect evaporates. Not loudly, subtly. A missed promotion. A conversation that passes you by. A decision made without your input. Because you are no longer seen as someone who commands, only someone who complies. Machiavelli would never advise a prince to act this way. He would say, let them feel your absence. Let them wonder where they stand with you. Because once you become predictable, you are no longer powerful. You are just available. And what is always available is never rare. And what is not rare is never respected. You think you're being polite. You tell yourself you're just keeping the peace, but peace bought with silence is not peace. It is surrender, and it teaches others not to value you but to expect you, to expect your flexibility, to expect your tolerance, and eventually to expect your silence. When people sense you fear rejection, they do not offer kindness. They offer leverage. They ask you for favors they would never ask of someone with boundaries. They joke at your expense because they know you'll laugh along. They shift responsibility onto you because you never push back. This is not cruelty, it is calculation. You have taught them how to treat you. Not through your words, but through your need. The hunger to be accepted is the most dangerous hunger of all because it makes you malleable. And the man who is easily shaped is never trusted with real power, because real power demands clarity. The Stoics called it sovereignty of the soul. Machiavelli called it the mask of command. But both knew this. The moment you need people to like you, you give them the strings to pull you. And they will pull, not with cruelty, but with charm. With smiles, with subtle reminders that you are likable as long as you are agreeable, and slowly, without realizing it, you begin to contort. You change how you speak, how you dress, what you say yes to. You compromise not because you're weak, but because you're afraid of no longer being liked. This is the silent prison. No walls. Just expectations you enforce on yourself. You dress them up as kindness, as diplomacy, but really, it is fear. The Stoics would ask you, are you living according to nature or according to the reactions of others? Are your actions the result of your own reasoned choice or the invisible pressure of being liked? You have leased out your identity, rented your attention, bartered your dignity for momentary peace. And in the end, you are not admired. You are merely useful, but usefulness is not loyalty. It is not admiration. It is not strength. It is a contract. And when your usefulness fades, the contract ends. You believe you're being good, but people don't admire goodness without strength. They admire what is rare, what is certain, what is rooted, not what folds under pressure, not what agrees out of fear, not what smiles while betraying itself. And then one day you say no, one boundary, one refusal, and suddenly you are not polite anymore. You are difficult. You are selfish. Not because you changed, but because you stopped feeding their comfort with your silence. This is the collapse of the illusion, and now you see it for what it is. The flattery was never admiration. It was control disguised as warmth. They don't need to manipulate you with threats. You do it to yourself. You anticipate rejection and adjust in advance. You walk through life with invisible chains, chains forged not by others, but by your own desire to belong. And the world senses it. Even those who don't mean to use you feel it. That fragility, that willingness, that quiet plea. Please like me. Please don't leave. But the man who needs others to validate him will never hold influence, because he is always one glance, one silence, one withheld compliment away from collapse. So you must choose. Will you continue living as a reflection of other people's preferences, or will you step into your own principles? Will you speak because it is true, or because it is safe? Will you be agreeable, or will you be anchored? Machiavelli would tell you, those who are feared are not careless. They are not cruel. They are simply not desperate. And the Stoics would echo, be the master of your own soul. Stand straight, not to intimidate, but because it is your nature to stand. Speak clearly, not to dominate, but because clarity is a virtue. Act not to be liked, but to be whole. Because the world does not reward desperation, it rewards distinction. So walk like you have nothing to prove. Speak as though your words are not for sale, and let your presence remind others, not of your need for them, but of their need to earn access to you. That is how power is reclaimed. Not through conflict, but through refusal. Not through noise, but through self-possession. That is the end of desperation, and the beginning of dignity. 3. The freedom to be disliked. There is a peculiar kind of silence that enters the room the moment you let someone dislike you, and you do nothing to stop it. No defense, no smile, no need to explain or adjust, just presence, just stillness. That is the birth of something rare. For the first time, you are no longer a servant of their comfort. You stand untouched, not because no one judges you, but because their judgment no longer rules you. Most people never reach this moment. They spend their lives managing perceptions, bending their nature for applause they never truly believe. They haunt their own existence, floating between conversations, performing politeness, all to avoid discomfort. But the Stoics taught us that the wise man does not fear being misunderstood. He remains anchored in what is just, not in what is popular. Machiavelli, too, would say that power is never found in being agreeable. It is found in being unshaken when others disapprove. The man who commands the room is not the one who pleases everyone. He is the one who does not need to. You think being liked is protection, that if enough people approve of you, you will be safe. But look closer. Has your constant pleasing made you invincible, or just invisible? They like you, yes, but they like the version of you that does not disrupt them, the version that nods, that agrees, that never confronts. And the moment you step outside that box, the silence begins, or worse, the backlash. That is when the truth reveals itself. If their respect vanishes the moment you stop feeding their expectations, then it was never respect. It was tolerance wearing the mask of friendship. Do not build your identity on tolerance. It is a house made of dust, appealing on the outside but hollow within. The Stoic does not seek to be liked. He seeks to be whole. The Machiavellian does not beg for favor. He lets others come to him. To be truly free, you must be willing to lose the approval of those who never valued your essence, only your compliance. Let them go. Let their silence come and stand. 4. Let them disapprove. There comes a moment, quiet, undramatic, a moment not witnessed by anyone else. It does not arrive with applause. It arrives in stillness. It is when you finally accept that no matter how carefully you walk, someone will still disapprove. No matter how kind you are, someone will still misread your actions. No matter how much you give, someone will still say it was not enough. And instead of trying to control it, you release it. You no longer negotiate with perception. You no longer chase every opinion as if it holds your fate. You let the disapproval rise like a tide, and you do not flinch. You do not explain. You do not shrink. You remain. That is the beginning of power. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He wrote, not for the agreeable, but for the ruler. He warned that a prince must not seek to be loved. He must seek to be respected. And if love appears, it must be earned on his terms, not gifted at the expense of his strength. Because the love born from fear of losing your presence is lasting, but the love born from your need to be accepted is fragile. It evaporates the moment you stop pleasing. The Stoics said the same, though in a different tongue. They taught us to root our actions in virtue, not approval. To live by reason, not reputation. To stand firm, even when surrounded by misunderstanding. That is not detachment, it is discipline. So ask yourself this: do you want to be admired by those who only applaud when you obey? Or do you want to be known as someone who does not trade their soul for smiles? When you stop fearing disapproval, you begin building with clarity. You stop decorating your cage and start walking out of it. They will say, you are different. Let them. They will call you difficult. Let them. Because they no longer have access to the version of you that once begged for permission to be seen. You are not unkind. You are unmoved. You are not arrogant. You are anchored. And from this place, you do not chase power. You become it. 5. Stop pleasing. Start leading. The world does not fear kindness. It fears clarity. It fears a man who cannot be bent by praise or silence. And the moment you stop performing for affection, the moment you stop adjusting your voice to make others feel tall, something shifts. You become unreadable. You become untouchable. Because what cannot be controlled must be respected, and what cannot be predicted cannot be used. People-pleasing is not a virtue. It is a strategy born of fear, a subtle form of self-erasure cloaked in politeness. You believe that by saying yes, by being agreeable, by avoiding tension, you are building harmony. But in truth, you are feeding a quiet desperation. A need to be kept, a need to be safe. And those who seek safety at the cost of self-respect are not preserved. They are replaced. Machiavelli would laugh at the fantasy that kindness alone is power. He never advised rulers to seek love. He advised them to seek control. To use kindness as a tool, not as an identity. Because once kindness becomes compulsive, once it becomes a compulsion to avoid discomfort, it loses its dignity. It is no longer strength. It is submission in disguise. Look at the worker who always says yes. The one who picks up the extra hours never complains, never draws attention. He is praised, but never promoted. He is appreciated, but never consulted. Why? Because he has taught others that his effort is infinite and his boundaries are imaginary. His value is tied not to what he brings, but to what he tolerates. Or the friend who never says no, always available, always agreeable. Slowly, they are no longer respected, only expected, expected to show up, expected to accommodate. And when one day they finally draw a line, they are met not with thanks, but with confusion, because they have broken the contract of self-abandonment they created. This is the quiet tragedy of people-pleasing. It begins as generosity and ends as resentment, not because others betrayed you, but because you betrayed yourself, hoping they would notice. You smile through discomfort, you agree through exhaustion, you shrink and call it grace. But deep down, a part of you knows. This is not virtue. This is fear with a mask on. The Stoics warned against this. They taught that the man ruled by external approval cannot rule anything at all, that to seek peace at the cost of truth is not harmony, it is cowardice. The wise man does not flatter, he speaks with clarity, he acts from principle, not from the trembling hope of being liked. You were not born to walk on eggshells, you were not born to be everyone's soft landing. You were born to carry the full weight of your nature. And that means being misunderstood. That means disappointing those who only loved the version of you that never said no. There is nothing noble in being agreeable if it costs you your self-command. The crowd may smile at you. They may praise your helpfulness, but notice how often their affection disappears when you assert yourself, when you stop making them comfortable, when you stop performing. And that is the test. Because anyone who withdraws the moment you stop pleasing them never saw you as a person, only as a function. Machiavelli knew this. He knew that power does not belong to the agreeable. It belongs to the one who commands space without asking for it, to the one who can disappoint others and remain unmoved. Not cruel, just sovereign. The people-pleaser is not sovereign. He is calculating in disguise. He lives under the illusion that by never offending, he will be rewarded. But the truth is sharper. The world does not reward passivity. It rewards presence. And presence only arises when your words match your values, not your fears. There is no freedom in constantly adjusting to others. There is only exhaustion. You become a mirror to everyone but a stranger to yourself. You begin to resent those around you, not because they are demanding, but because you trained them to be. You offered your time without conditions. You silenced your needs. And now you are surprised when they expect you to keep doing so. But why wouldn't they? You've never said no. You've never asked for space. You've never shown them where your edge is. You gave them everything but the truth. The truth that you are not here to decorate their story, that you are not responsible for their comfort, that your worth is not measured by how easy you are to love. The Stoic path is not a path of coldness, it is a path of clarity, of knowing that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of integrity. That goodness without strength becomes servitude. That pleasing everyone is not generosity. It is manipulation in reverse. A desperate attempt to secure belonging through sacrifice. But sacrifice without principle is just surrender. You think if you do everything right, they will stay. That if you never say no, they will see your value. But here is the Stoic and Machiavellian truth. They don't stay because you're easy. They stay because you're useful, and the moment your usefulness requires boundaries, the illusion ends. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you told someone no and did not explain? When was the last time you walked away, not in anger, but in certainty? When was the last time you let someone misunderstand you and did not chase after their approval? That is the power of authenticity. It is not about rebellion, it is about realignment. You stop bending not to hurt others, but to heal yourself. You stop negotiating your value. You stop trading your voice for affection, and slowly something returns. A quiet strength, a presence, the kind that does not perform, the kind that does not beg, the kind that makes others rise to meet your standard or fall away entirely. You do not need to be feared to be respected, but you must be unshakable. And you cannot be unshakable if every frown makes you fold, if every silence makes you explain, if every opinion makes you shift. So here is the choice. Continue to serve a crowd that claps only when you entertain them, or step into the discomfort of your own truth. Disappoint who you must. Lose what you must. Let go of the leash you wrapped around your own throat. Machiavelli would tell you that the crown is not given to those who ask for it. It is taken by those who are willing to be disliked for being unwavering. The Stoics would add that virtue is not proven in comfort, but in courage. So if you want to be good, begin by being whole, even if it costs you applause, even if it means walking alone, because every time you say yes to avoid rejection, you say no to yourself. Every time you silence your truth for approval, you abandon your soul. But when you live from truth, not strategy, people feel it. Some will fall away, let them. Some will rise to meet you, keep them. But you will finally be free, and that is worth everything. So now the illusion has broken. What once looked like virtue now reveals itself as quiet surrender. People-pleasing is not kindness. It is self-erasure dressed in smiles. It is the slow disappearance of your voice in the name of being accepted. Machiavelli would never ask you to be cruel, but he would demand that you stop being weak. You were not born to soften your edges for people who would never bleed for you. You were not made to shrink in rooms where you deserve to take space. You are not here to win favor by disappearing. From this moment on, let every smile be sincere, not strategic. Let every yes be strong, not fearful. Let every step you take reflect your will, not their expectations. Let them misjudge you. Let them walk. Let them speak behind your back. That is their story. Yours begins now. If this truth moved something inside you, subscribe to walk this path further. There is more to uncover. And in the comments, write "Stand unshaken" if you are ready to stop pleasing and start leading. The world does not need another agreeable soul. It needs one more person who cannot be bent, and that person might already be in you. Let them rise.